What's going on, everybody, for another mod update to my 2022 Triumph Trident, aka Trudy. We're going to be removing this swing arm license plate mount and mudguard mount and replacing it with the Evotech tail tidy that's going to go right here, but the one that allows me to keep the super cool Triumph light, which I didn't want to get rid of. So that's one piece of this. The second piece is brand new Evotech turn signal kit that's going to go in the rear, and then also replace the turn signals in the front. Let me show you guys what I got. So here is the kit. Here is the main pieces of the tail tidy there, and then I have the swing arm cover, which is going to replace this section here, so this looks good and clean. And then here's the turn signal. This is one of 4, and these are the ones that will, can't drop it. These are the ones that flash like this. Like, what do you call it? Sequential? I don't remember what you call it, but they'll flash like that, and they'll look really nice. So I've got this whole kit. I'm gonna get to work on putting this all together. So let's get started. So I downloaded the guide here from Evotech, and it's actually pretty thorough. They've got all of the photos and everything, but as I'm scrolling here, each one step by step by step, there are, 105 pages of this guide. So it looks like it's quite a few steps to make this happen. So I'm gonna start with step 1, I guess, all the way at the top, and see what we can do here about making this thing happen. The first step, it looks like, is we need to start loosening up all of the parts here to remove the swing arm or the license plate mudguard arm here, get this removed, and then start fishing the wires back up. And eventually we'll have to do the mount, and we're gonna have to drill holes at the bottom to be able to do the mount. So, all right, let's buckle up and make this thing happen. All right, 5 quick, easy steps. I guess they kind of have one step per each bolt you have to take off, but it was basically this top one here. There were 2 down here, and then the big nut that goes here, and then the metal bracket comes off, and then now the whole guard just pops right off. So now we have an electrical connection, which I believe I need to cut this zip tie off and then unplug, and we're gonna keep going. And next part here is taking apart and pulling the cables out of the old swing arm fender mount. I've already removed the fender, took 3 bolts out there. Now I got to take these out and pull the lights apart and get the wiring harness out of the plastic. All right, turn signals are removed from the wiring harness right here. It says just to take those off, set those aside, and remember, I'm actually going to be replacing those with the new kit, so I'm not even going to be using these guys, but what I believe we're reusing is this whole plastic piece with the wiring harness for the tail light. So got to hang on to this, set this aside, and next we're moving on to the seat. All right, I've got the plastic tabs on each side removed, the 3 bolts here, and then this one plug, and it looks like this should just pop right off. So there's the initial piece of the cover that I think we're gonna have to drill into in a minute, but she's coming apart quick. These steps go fast. All right, we're back by the chain guard now, and looks like they want me to remove this. So there's 1 bolt that goes here. There's 1 that comes off of the top right there. And now I guess I'm supposed to somehow pop this off, but it is tabbed on there, and also has a couple like mounts here somehow. So I got to get this off, and then we're going to access the plastic piece that then has this wire stringing through here that goes then up this way. So I think we're working on pulling this wire all the way up through. So that's what we're working on next. Gonna get these parts loose, get this wire pulled through all the way up to the top. All right, a lot of work to just wiggle that wire through, but it was down here. Now I ran it up and pulled it on through, and here we go. So now the rear turn signal brake light wire is coming through the front. So next we have to pop off a few electronic pieces, get this connected up to the back. So that's what we're gonna do now. All right, guys, now we're moving on to step 50, I think, and I've got the rest of the tail stuff disassembled here. I had to remove a couple bolts that were down here that are holding this plastic piece on. You have to take the little tab clips off, but now we're ready to put the first piece of the new bracket on, and this should just kind of slide in place. Let's see, I believe it's gonna kind of go, like this, right up in here. So we're gonna get this popped in. Actually, it might be going this way. Ah, there it is. It's gonna go like that. So that's the first piece of the new bracket. So let's start our reassembly now that everything is completely torn apart on this bike and I've got tools everywhere. A lot of steps. So assembly, first bracket going. Okay, so the initial bracket's installed, and then what they have you doing is kind of interesting, but I actually like the technique. They have you putting in these little grub screws that have these little points on them. They're sharp. And then what you do is you take the white fender piece there, slide that back on, and then pop it up to create divots in the plastic so you know exactly where to drill this pattern on that plastic. Pretty cool. So I'm gonna slide that on, pop it, pull it back off, recognize the divots, and then drill the holes in. Pretty smart. All right, that worked pretty well. It was kind of tough to see those little dimples, but then I marked them with a marker and then drilled the holes and then popped in these steel washers. Now the next part is to put this back in and then start putting stuff back together with the actual bracket itself. So let's get this on first. All right, the tail is popped back in place. So now I'm moving back over here and I'm moving on to step 66, which is now going to be assembling the actual bracket with the blinker lights, but I'm gonna be using the new Evotech ones. And just to give you guys a quick side-by-side, look at that size differential there, stock versus the Evotech. I'm really excited about the sleek look. So we're gonna ditch these stock ones and we're gonna put these Evotech ones on, and it says to start threading all the wires through. It looks like I'll be doing that, and we will be mounting them with the screws and everything, threading them through, attaching the bracketry, yada, 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 yada. Lots more steps to go. Moving on to get these, I'll give you updates. So I've got the metal assembly all set. It's actually kind of cool. They reuse the license plate light. So you just take that off the other assembly, the other stock assembly, and then you just pull these cables through, and then this kind of has a channel in it, and you sandwich these pieces together, and voila, you have the new assembly set up. And I've got it just resting here on my tire, and I've connected it. So I'm gonna connect up the turn signals here to these plugs, and they gave you these to be able to do that. So they actually snap right in place. And I'm gonna test, make sure I have the signals orientated correctly before I then mount the whole harness and the bracket all back up in place. So I'm gonna plug these in and test the turn signals. All right, guys, so I went ahead and kind of buttoned up the rear end here a little bit. This is really difficult to do, actually. There's not a lot of slack in the wire. It looks like we got a lot of wire up here, which I'll talk about in a second, but the wire, as it routes up through the holes underneath here, is actually really tight and difficult. Could have used a second set of hands, but was able to get it done. Either way, looking good. Got the new lights installed here. So those are the Evotech aftermarket scrolling lights, whatever these are called. That looks pretty sharp. So it goes like this. Pew, pew. You can see the stock light has been reused here for the license plate itself. And then of course, the nice stock brake light, which this was the biggest thing, is why I picked this kit, is because I wanted to keep this brake light. I didn't want to replace this. I thought this was really cool. It's got the Triumph logo right there. It's beautiful. I didn't want to get rid of that. So this looks pretty cool now. And so what we're left with is this big bundle of wire. There's actually a ton of wire. They give you a lot for here, but then down below, not enough. So I don't know if that was just my kit or the way my bike is set up, but got a lot of wire here, not enough on the for the connector that actually goes to the rear license plate light. The connector is like right there, so I have to jam the connector through the hole. Not ideal. So we're gonna get this all just zip tied up, looking pretty to go underneath the seat, and then we're pretty much done here, and we can move on to replacing the parts that are down here by the wheel. Oh, and then I'm also gonna do the front indicators, so we have it all looking nice and uniform. So let's get this seat part buttoned up. All right, moving on to the front signals to replace. There's actually just one bolt here and one there that gets the fork clamp loose, and then actually the wire is kind of hidden back here behind that fork clamp. So I'm gonna pull this apart and get the wire to the connector, which is kind of tucked up in here, and it's gonna be kind of interesting to find where this goes, and then plug in the new lights and get the front remounted. And so it's the same on this side as it is on this side. So let's pull these apart. Okay, so I've got the light mounted and I've got the wire pulled through. What's actually cool about this is that they made like a little notch channel that goes around the plastic here, and it actually pops out right on the other side of this bolt, and then the cable can kind of come through. And then they had the pigtail connector, which connected down in here, which is actually really difficult because the engineers of Triumph made the connectors like just in the inside of this hole, so it's really hard to get those in. And then all I gotta do is connect these up. But now, just like in the back, I have a lot of extra slack. So I'm gonna try to stuff stuff down in there, zip tie it, and then get it through this same rubber clamp here that the cable originally came through, so it looks nice and clean. So I'm gonna get that short up on this side and the other side, and then at least this part now is all done. Okay, front signals are done and looking really, really sharp. So let's wrap up the tailpiece now, the chain guard, and get this project finally done. All right, so all the electronics are all bundled up, looking good. Put the seat on, tested it, make sure it popped into place. Everything's looking clean. Now we're gonna move back down underneath here, and I've already gone ahead and replaced the mud guard there. It slides it back in, and it pops into the plastic here. I still have to do the screws that go in, but first I want to get this new tail piece on, or the chain guard piece I should say, on, and it's going to fit in right like this, and it has a few metal bushings to slide into. This here goes like that, and then there's just this one screw that goes through there into there, and then we replace one screw on the bottom here. So I'm going to get that on and then get the rest of the chain guard stuff situated. All right, guys, we are looking good. We are just about wrapped up here. I've got the new chain guard installed. This looks really nice. The only caveat to this is this kind of just pops in place here, and the plastic seems a little loose. I mean, they've got it designed to kind of line up, but it's not perfectly flush or anything. Like, this kind of dives underneath here. I don't know how quite I feel about it. To the naked eye, standing away, you wouldn't notice that, but like, this is kind of diving underneath this piece. So I don't know if I put this on wrong, but there's only a couple ways to do this. But anyway, that's done. Looks pretty good. Sans kind of the way that this doesn't seem to sit flush, but maybe I'll have to tinker with that to get that right. But on to the plate situation. So the plate's on. Got to turn backwards here just so you guys can take a closer look, but you can see the lights on. Got the flashers. Now, this bracket is designed for Euro plates. So as you can see here, part of the bracket is sticking out. Just got a little point here. They did give some additional brackets to hold on the US plate. Let's see if I can go underneath. Yeah, you can see here. You can see this additional bracket. And the bottom part of this really doesn't do anything else. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mark a line, and I'm going to grind and cut that little tail off, just so it doesn't look so silly. So I'm gonna grind that off, make that flat, and then we'll do a final wrap video. Actually, just to show you guys real quick, with the plate removed, you can see the brackets more clearly now. I think the Euro plates actually just go into these regular slots, but they give you these additional ones here to extend it out for the US plate. And you can see there's a line for the bottom of the plate. So that's at the top of that line. There is pretty much where I'm going to cut it off maybe a little further, but again, I don't want to get too close to this, so maybe like right there. Just cut that off, grind it, smooth it out, and then throw some paint on there, and we should be golden. So we're gonna get that done. All right, guys, moment of truth. The tail tidy turn signal install is complete and looking great. So first update, you can see I cut the little tip off of the bottom of the plate. So that is now flush with the plate, looking good. The turn signals that are flashing sequentially like that, looking super, super cool in the back and in the front. Looking sleek, looking beautiful. And then, of course, the chain guard with the new plastic piece there that covers up the chain and fills in the gap where that swing arm license plate piece is gone. So this was not the easiest project. Working on the parts underneath here was actually very, very difficult to try to get the holes cut and everything aligned, but you know, when it's done, you just feel that much better about it. So it looks really, really great. I got my stock light, license plate light, everything is looking tight. We're ready to take this out and we're gonna call this project done.